our very first event of the IIT Bombay Nagpur chapters. Today's webinar is also the beginning of a wealth management series, which is on popular demand. It's a monthly webinar series where distinguished and experienced speakers will enlighten us with the concept of investing, the options and the risk involved in various types of investing instruments. Wealth management is an area affecting us all. And I'm sure after watching Harshad Mehta TV series, everyone is interested or at least curious about in investing in the markets. I also wish to extend a special thanks to the Hyderabad chapter, who are a mentor chapter to us for organizing and hosting this event. Introducing the speakers for the day, I welcome our alums and young budding entrepreneurs, Amal Dani and Aditya Mehta. Amal Dani is a computer science graduate, 2016 batch from IIT Bombay. He's worked at ARP Investments as a algorithmic trading strategist and as a portfolio management quant at Goldman Sachs. Pursuing his vigor to become an entrepreneur, he's co-founded Harmony, which is India's first fixed income digital marketplace. We also have Aditya Mehta, who's an engineering physics graduate, 2012 batch from IIT Bombay. He started his career as an asset management associate with Goldman Sachs, then switched to PaySense, which is a consumer lending startup, as a core team member. And currently with Amal, he's a co-founder at Harmony. Topic for today's webinar is fixed income investing. What, why, and how? Our speakers today shall share with us what are the various fixed income investing options we have, why selecting the fixed income investment is equally important, and how can a retail investor gather some fixed income exposure. So before we begin, some housekeeping updates for the audience. Kindly keep your microphone on mute. We shall have a moderated Q&A session after the speaker presentation, for which you can share your questions in the chat box. The session is being recorded and we'll upload it later on our Nagpur chapter's YouTube channel. The session duration is around 50 to 60 minutes. And in case the audience enthusiasm is there, we can extend it by further 15 minutes. So I now invite Amal and Aditya to share their knowledge on the subject. Amal, are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, we can.
Right. Let me share my screen. Yeah. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, Amal, we can see your screen.
Yeah. Perfect. So, thanks, Rohan, for introducing us. So, as you mentioned, I'm a 2016 pass out and recently started my journey on entrepreneurship, where we have chosen this journey to deepen the fixed income market in India, where made it accessible to the retail folks, and that's how we stumbled upon fixed income investing. And I would like to share the knowledge and a few opinions that we have made in the last few months over our research into fixed income investing, and how that has changed our own perspective over portfolio management, the way we used to do it before and the way we do it now. So the session today, I would like to start with the very basics. We will start with what exactly is fixed income, what and why it is important to think about fixed income in the same manner as the way we think about equities. We all know that the stocks or the equities part of our portfolio has a lot of thought put in, and it has a coolness factor associated with it. But the fixed income part is generally the very less explored and uncool one. So I will try to bring that rigor or the or thought within the fixed income part of the portfolio, and we'll try to bring out that why it is equally important to think about fixed income investing too. So I think with that we can get started with what we want to cover. So what exactly is fixed income? So so there are a lot of products in the market, and all the products that say that you will be given a guaranteed interest payment, the guaranteed payment at a periodic basis, and at the end you will get back the money which you had already invested, comes under fixed income. So the moment I say this, I think the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is the fixed deposits, and everybody makes it. So fixed deposit is like the most popular fixed income product, and because of the ease of availability and understanding of the product, it is heavily used, and it is used by almost everybody to park their savings. So but so now the once we know what fixed income is, so let's look at a typical portfolio of someone who has started earning like in the last 5 years or 10 years. We generally have a exposure which goes like on the pie chart on the left. So our fixed income part is huge, it is around 50%. Most of my friends, when I tried to do a survey in my closer circle, they said that their fixed deposits is like 60 to 70% of their savings, of their monthly savings. And then there is equity on the other side, which will be 40%. And then some people try to get invested in gold or some of the other cooler or other alternative assets that are available in the market today. But having said that, fixed income still makes a very big chunk, and most of this is in fixed deposits because it is very easily accessible. So so one needs to think about that. If we are investing 50% of our wealth in fixed deposits, it is not fair to spend like 1% of the time we spend on wealth management towards that chunk that just create a fixed deposit. So that is where the whole thought starts. So yeah, so the next natural question to ask is why invest in fixed income? It is a known fact that the equity over a longer run will provide a much higher return, and so why not put all the money in equity? So there are very basic and sound, so the basic reasons why investing in fixed income is good or necessary. The first thing that comes to my mind is that it creates a diversification in portfolio. So during March, when equity dropped like by 40%, if you are completely invested in equity, your net worth would have gone down by 40%. But a balanced portfolio which has around 50% fixed income or 40% fixed income will ensure that during such drawdowns, you do not lose your good night's sleep, and you still have a chunk of your portfolio that hasn't lost a lot of money. So that is what fixed income provides. It provides you protection against huge downturns that happens in equity markets more often than we would like to. The next most important thing is, as we grow, it the need to have a steady source of income apart from. Yes. Did anybody have a question or something?
No, you continue, Amal.
Yeah. So apart from that, the next most important thing that comes with fixed income investments is a steady source of income. So most of these fixed income investments are structured in a manner that they say that you will get 10% returns every year, or you will get this much amount on a monthly basis. So this creates a replacement to our regular salaries that come. So as we progress in our age, this is a very natural thing to want or desire that I am making this much money. I would like to replace this whole chunk of money with something which is fixed. So even when I retire or when I want to change my priorities or let my career take the back seat, I have a steady source of income. The next important thing that fixed income products come with is it preserves the invested amount. So all these fixed income products comes with a capital protection guarantee that you will not lose the amount that you have invested. Obviously, they come with a few caveats which we will address a bit later. But most of them at the top of it will say that you will get the money that you had invested back when the product ends or when the product matures. So So clubbing all three of this together, it creates a peace of mind that your money, you are having a steady source of money that is being deposited into your bank account every day. You are not exposed to wild downturns that happen in the equity market. It creates a peace of mind, and to me, it translates into I don't need to look at my portfolio value every day, so I can do my primary job in a much better way because I'm not worried about the already earned money.
Hmm?
So, so to summarize this thing, so over the right, I have summarized this into a table. So the top three one are the bond indices that are being traded. So these are some representative of how the fixed income market has performed, and the fourth and the fifth one are how the equity has performed. So if you see over the past 10 years, equity has given on an average 2% more than the bond than the fixed income in markets. At the same time, so the second column is volatility. So it is some measure of how risky your investment is. So the equity investment is on an average 5 times more riskier than the fixed income investments. So the third column is sharp. This number represents the returns you make on a risk adjusted basis. So this is a single number that you should see if you want to figure out that is your how is your returns, how is your investment doing if all the investment had the same amount of risk. So we can see that the equity investments have a much lesser Sharpe ratio than the fixed income investment.
Are you
So
displaying something? We cannot see your screen.
Rohan, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we are able to see your screen.
Okay, maybe there's some
Srinivasi,
problem.
can you log in from another device if you can try that?
Okay, sure.
Amol, continue, please.
Yes. So so even though I am saying that the Sharpe ratio of the equity investments are lesser, but one thing that we need to keep in mind that total returns is what is very important at the end of the day, what we take home. So so it is not that the equity investment should not never be done just because it has a very low Sharpe ratio, but what the point that we are trying to drive here is that there should be some mixture of it which is represented in the last column. So just by having some exposure to the fixed income, the volatility or the risk number reduces drastically, and the return levels are still in between the two. So it provides a downside protection when you have fixed income in your portfolio is what we exactly mean when we say it diversifies your portfolio. So yeah, so now once we have discussed that why should we invest in fixed income, what are the fixed income, we will try to delve into the very basics of a fixed income investment. So almost all the fixed income products that are out there can be represented in some form of a bond. So what exactly is a bond? So bond in a very simple term is a loan that you give to a organization or a company, and the company in return says that I will pay you back 8% every year, and at the end of say 10 years I will give you back the amount that you have paid. So a bond will generally come with terms like that you will be given 8% 8 interest payment every year, and at the end you will be given the amount you invested back. So this is how simple it is. And so the moment you think about this, you understand that this is exactly what a fixed deposit does. I give my funds to the bank, they provide me an interest on a regular basis, and then at the end of maturity they give me back the money. So a bond, so over here there are a few moving parts, and that is why it is important that we cannot invest directly into any bond. So what are we supposed to look when we buy a bond? It is very similar to equities in the sense, what do we look when we buy a stock? We do look into a few things. We don't just go and buy any stock that seems attractive. So what do we look in a bond? So the first thing we look into it is the how good the company is who is giving us the loan. So that is what we say the credit rating. So when a bond is issued, it comes with a number, a credit rating, which will be like AAA, AA, or something like that. And it says that how good the issuer is or how probable is the issuer to give back the money. So if a bond is AAA rated, it means that it is very, very safe and you are almost guaranteed that you will get your money back. The next thing that we look in a bond is how long is the bond going to be. So when you extend a loan to someone, you would like to know that by when will I get back the money. So that is exactly what a duration of the bond says, that when will you get back your money. So, and it is important for two things, for two primary reasons. So we will have our primary concerns or objective that I want the money back in say 3 years. And if a bond that you are trying to investigate is going to return the money in 10 years, there is a clear mismatch. So we would not like to invest in that bond. Another thing that also comes with duration is the fact that the longer the duration, the more are the chances that the company that was nice today will change. A company which was very good today might be not so great in 10 years. And so the chances that it will not be able to pay you back your money might change. So that is risk when we take a bond which is going to mature in a long time. The third thing is the yield of the bond. So this is the effective interest rate you are making. So this is very important because you know that the government of India is going to pay you this much. So you need to make a comparative study that if you are going to a company like HDFC or SBI, it should be giving you returns at least as much as the government of India is giving. If it is offering you something lesser than that, then it is definitely a bad opportunity. So these are the primary things that we should look when we are trying to get an exposure in a bond. So yeah, so there are primarily three. So a bond, so there are if various types of bonds that are available in the market. I have chosen these three because these are the popular ones, and we come across these names in newspapers and in social media, etc. So we would like to concentrate on these three. So the first one is the Government of India bonds. So Government of India auctions or issues the bonds that we discussed in a previous page every week of different durations. So the duration might be as low as 3 months, and it might go on to as long as 10 years, 15 years. And because these are issued by the Government of India, they are the safest bonds available in India. We should be able to trust on the fact that the Government of India is going to pay back our money. If there is a loss in trust over there, then there are like bigger problems we need to solve. So that is why these are the safest bonds available. The next category that comes is the tax-free bonds. So these are generally issued by public sector units like the IRFC, the Power Finance Corporation, the National Highway Authorities of India. These are bonds that so whenever there is a project where they need to create an infrastructure project like railways or bridges, they go to the public and issue these bonds to making those projects possible. And the advantage on these bonds are that the interest payments are tax free. You don't need to pay any tax on it, and they have a yield between 4.5 to 5%. So these are like direct improvement on what we get at fixed deposits, where the interest rates are like 4.5 to 5%, and then we need to pay tax on it, which might go as high as 30%. So its effective fixed deposit yield is generally 3.5, which is very, very miserable. The next category is the corporate bonds, where we say that a company like HDFC or the Tatas, SBI will say that, oh, we want to do something, we have a project, and so we need money. So they will go to the public and say that give us the loan. So that is a bond which are issued by the corporates. So over here, a very major caveat is that everybody is allowed to issue a bond. So it is very important, or the onus is on the investor to decide that I am not investing in something that will be unable to pay back my money. Because at the end, on the fixed income part of our portfolio is the safer portfolio. Fixed income part of the portfolio is the safer portfolio. So we should not take unnecessary risks. All the risks that we take should be part of the equities portfolio. Over here, things should be as safe as possible. So choosing the right issuers is very important. So what are our options? So this is where we decide that, okay, so we know that fixed income investing should be given some thought. We know that why are we investing in fixed income? So now the most important question is the implementation of our thoughts. How should we invest, or what are our options? So the first and the most prevailing option is very simple: fixed deposits. You can just go to your net banking account. you can just go to your net banking account with a single click. You will be able to create a fixed deposit. So it is very accessible. It is safe as far as you open fixed deposits in banks like HDFC, SBI, the bigger ones. The one caveat that comes with fixed deposit, as I discussed earlier, was it comes with a very low returns. So the post-tax returns is generally 3.5%, which is something that everybody should be easily able to improve upon. The next option that comes directly is the mutual fund. So we should, what does a mutual fund do? As it does with stocks, it aggregates bonds and sell it to retail clients. So the advantage is it is very easily accessible, but it comes with two primary disadvantages or caveats. Is generally people look into fixed income as a something that provides a steady cash flow. So the mutual funds do not do that. It still has a net asset value or a NAV unit associated to it, and it does not provide you a steady cash flow. The second thing is they are prone to suboptimal bonds. So as we discussed earlier, that bonds can be issued by various issuers. So there is no control of ours to what the fund manager is buying. So there has been events in the recent time, like by the UTI or the Franklin Templeton, where the bond funds were left with slightly shadier issuers, and that led to loss to the investors. So things like those might happen. So that is where the third option comes in, the individual bonds. We can directly take exposure into the NHAI bonds, the tax-free bonds, the corporate bonds, and you exactly know that what the bonds are, and you have complete control about what are your objectives and what you are buying. So why has not this been a very popular option till now? Because for retail, the retail options generally come with very bad prices. The yields are very low. If you want a decent or a good yield, your ticket size should be huge. So if you are making an investment of the size of 50 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 1 crore, that is when you get some decent pricing, which is not something that an individual would like to do on a regular basis. These are very big amounts. The next thing is the processes currently are completely paper based. You need to go and fill a bunch of forms, and there are a lot of paper based things which makes the newer generation very averse from investing into bonds. And at the end, there is lack of a choices framework. Nobody has a clue about what to buy. So on the stock investing side, there is this plethora of research analysts that are deployed to invest in or to make the choices. So over here, it is completely absent. Nobody knows what to buy. So those are the primary issues, and that's where we identified this gap, and that's how Harmony took shape. So we are building the platform which reduces the ticket size. So now if you go to our website, we have investments which can be done at as low as 5,000 rupees. We provide prices which are similar to what you would have thought if you were investing 50 lakhs, 1 crore. So our yields are very competitive, even at a very small ticket size. And the thing that everybody likes the most nowadays, that it is completely digital. You don't need to get outside your computer desk for investing. So that is a very important thing nowadays, that things need to be digital. And above all, we provide a framework, or a choices framework. So now investing in bonds should no more be clueless. People should know that what are your objectives and what is the right bond for you. So we are trying to create an all-rounded approach across for selecting the bonds and invest in them. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So yeah, that is pretty much it. And so a few remarks. So I think the way Q&A will work is you will have to put your questions into the chat box and I then respond. So yes, and apart from that, a couple of things that feel free to contact me if there are any questions around fixed income investing or general investing. I would be happy to have a chat with you. And one thing that I would like, or what I did when we started Harmony, was change my approach towards investing. I tried to think a bit more about fixed income investing rather than directly investing into fixed deposits. So that is a feedback that I would like everybody to also take from here. And another thing is, we at Harmony, we if you have anybody in mind who would like to be part of our journey in building this fixed income product, then please pin me. We can talk to him, and then we would like to have more IITB people on board with us. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Amal, for the beautiful presentation. Before we start with the Q&A, so I'll just request the audience to just switch on their video, and we just want to take a screenshot. So if everyone can just for a few seconds start their videos, we'll take a screenshot and then we'll start with the Q&A session. Amal, if you can close your screen sharing. I think so. Still, few of them are yet to open their videos. Thank you. Thanks a lot. If anyone wants to switch off their camera, they can do now. We'll begin with the question and answer session. I request people to post their cues in the chat box, and we'll take it up from them. So we'll start with Soham's question. The cue is, what are the yearly charges on investment?
So yearly charges on investment per se, so there are no yearly charges as such on investment. So there is no yearly charges. It is, you just go out there and buy the bonds from our website. So
I'll request RP Ramohanji to switch off mute his mic. Yeah, so the next question comes from Raj Doshi. The cue is, what about indexation tax benefit we get on mutual funds? Does that make bond funds much more attractive than any other options?
So the indexation tax benefit with mutual funds are a benefit that exists, but so these benefits are not there on all the bonds. It is there on the Government of India bonds, and the tax-free bonds are as it is tax-free. So yeah, there are a few bonds which don't come with the indexation benefit, but there are alternatives which can be found which have similar treatment of that comes with the mutual funds. So yeah, if that answers your.
There's one clarification, Amal, that Roshni Dedia needs is you mentioned that NHAI bonds, which is a government authority, is it taxable? Like she's saying that it's taxable under income tax. What's your take on it?
So yes, so this bonds, the NHAI and the RECL, they have both the tax-free and the taxable bonds. So if you are buying a taxable bond, their yields will be in the range of 6.5 to 7%, and then there will be a tax applied on those. And at the opposite side, there will be the one that we discussed are completely tax-free, and their yields will be 4.5%. So
Give and take, it amounts to the same thing, I guess.
Similar, yeah. But the primary motivation of these bonds to be more lucrative is that they are definitely a better option as compared to fixed deposits where the returns are 3.5% on a post-tax basis.
Next question is from Abhijit Tomar. He's asking, what is the commission charged by Harmony?
Yes. So the way it happens is, so we have a price that is offered to the people, and it is very competitive to the yields that are available for retail currently, and they're very similar to the yields that are available at the big ticket sizes. So our spreads are embedded within it. So we do not have a commission that we charge upfront as of now. And it is very razor thin. So the advantage of a digital platform is that all the commissions or all the operational costs can be very razor thin. So it should not be very expensive to the end user as compared to the paper based people where the commissions itself will be a big chunk and makes a big deal. Yeah.
Amal, can you share me what are gold bonds?
Yes. So So apart from the things that we discussed over here, so gold bonds are are a category of bonds that are introduced by the government of India. So we all know that Indians love gold, and people used to buy physical gold a lot, which is a very not so great idea because it comes with its maintenance cost, and when you try to sell or buy, there are a lot of unnecessary expenses around it. So the government of India has come out with this product where you buy the gold. So and it's a bond, so it has a maturity of 7 to 8. It has a maturity of 8 years. You get 2.5% returns, which is tax free every year, and at the end of the 8 years you will get the money which will be equal to the gold price during that time. So it is equal to having to buying gold, but at the same time you are not possessing gold at home. So it does not have any of those storage costs or the various transaction costs associated with the physical gold. So it's a very attractive option to invest if someone wants a gold exposure, because it comes with a 2.5% extra interest, and there is no unnecessary costs which are generally associated with physical gold.
Does it come with a fixed maturity date, or you can?
It comes with a fixed maturity date, but this can be like all the other bonds which are listed on the exchange, and they can be traded back. So we at Harmony are also working on solutions where we can buy back these bonds which are very buy back these bonds at fair prices whenever a customer wants to sell it. So yeah.
So the next question is from Pawan. He's asking, many online portfolios are providing GSECs, bonds, etc. Is your value add the management of bond portfolios?
So most of these platforms so there is this management and the choices framework that we provide around what do we want to buy exactly. But apart from that, also I think the online solutions that are allowing you to get GSET bonds are generally public issues. It is like when the company is saying that we want to issue bonds is when this online solutions are helping you buy those. There aren't people around who are allowing you to transact in the secondary market itself. So even if the company has not issued a bond, if you want to buy a IRFC bond or any corporate bond, there is no good option for small ticket sizes currently. So there are solutions available when you want to buy directly from the company. That is when there is a public issue, the IPO equivalent of the bonds. But to my knowledge, it is not very easily available in the secondary markets when you want to buy an already issued bonds.
So Amal, please enlighten. Like you said, you offer small ticket size bonds. So if, for example, NHAI is issuing a bond of maybe 100 CR, so you break that bond into pieces. Like how it's done. How do you come to that small ticket size?
So when a NHAI comes with a issue, so there is an issue size associated, which is an 100 CR, as you said. But each of these bonds will still have a face value associated. So if face value of an NHI bond will typically be 1,000 rupees. So we don't need to actually break these bonds. They come in size in multiples of 1,000 only. So, but till now, what was happening was even though if the face value was 1,000 rupees, the bonds that are available or the people were willing to transact only in multiples of 10 lakhs or 5 lakhs. But what we have done is that we allow the investment to go as low as the face value. So if it's a 1,000 rupee face value bond, we will allow you to buy it at 1,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees. So you don't need to. We don't break the bonds. The bonds are already broken. It's just that the lot size is something that we are changing.
The next queue is from Tapasya. She's asking, how does it fare? How does a fixed investing option fare against guaranteed returns schemes?
Okay, I have a follow up. So what are the guaranteed return schemes? What kind of schemes are we talking about here?
Tapasya ji, you'll have to answer that.
The few guaranteed return schemes proposed by few of the players like HDFC and Aditya Birla, which assure around 9% returns.
9% return.
Yeah.
I will have to see what this exactly are. I at the top of it, I am not sure what they are exactly doing. So,
Okay.
but a 9% guaranteed return scheme seems too good to be true for me. Generally, guaranteed returns on a post-tax basis should range around in between 4.5 to 5.5. Or if the lock-in is used 30-year lock-in, then it might go up to like 6.5% or something.
So the lock-in period they're suggesting is around 15 years.
Yes. So yeah, still 9% seems a bit high. Yeah, I will have to look into it what exactly the product is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Uh, so
we can catch up separately later on this.
Sure.
I will
Sure.
also like
Definitely.
to learn what these products are.
Sure.
so next question for you, Amal, is from Pratik Doshi. Can we mortgage these bonds and take limits? Any ideas on interest cost? As a security, like if you have to take up a loan from a bank and then you have to give some security, can this bond be mortgaged?
Oh, I have no idea about this. Aditya, if you have an idea, or I can come back to you later on this question.
Yeah. So hi. Sure. So I can take this one. So you can mortgage bonds. So you can leverage use leverage against them. But
Oh, we can't.
Aditya,
be
you
a
couldn't
haircut
hear
associated
Aditya,
with
you could,
but
Aditya, yeah, we couldn't hear. Could you repeat the answer again?
yeah. So I said that you can mortgage these bonds. Uh, Depending on the type of the bond, you will get a different loan to value. So typically for government securities, you can get 90 to 95% of the value of your bond as a loan. In some cases, you can also get 100% for government securities.
Okay. So I'll take up the next queue. That's again from Raj Doshi. He's asking, will you market yourself more of a tech platform, allowing easy access to secondary market and niche products, or as an asset manager that can be consulted and help client deliver superior returns?
So yeah, so currently we are positioned as a pure technology platform, which will create ease of access for the retail people to to the bond market. At the same time, we will provide you a guidance system as to where you can how you should arrive about your around your portfolio management decisions. And yeah, that is what where we are currently, but at the same time we are not eliminating the fact that we would like to be an asset manager and do things around that. Yeah.
So Amal, one cue for you is you mentioned about credit ratings you've mentioned in your slides. So you said some there are AAA and AA. So how does that work and how does that impact the returns that you get?
Yes. So with credit rating, so whenever a bond is issued, whenever a fixed income instrument is issued by a company, they need to first go to a credit rating agency and get it certified with a credit rating. So what the agency does is it does its inquiry on how the company is doing, what are the assets which are underlying this bond. So if a fixed income instrument, if a bond is issued saying that, oh, we are building the bridge and the repayment will happen with the income receipts from that bridge, it means that there is something tangible underlying that bond. So it provides some credibility. So they do all sort of this due diligence and background checks, and then they assign a number to each of the bonds. So these numbers, so for instance, Trisel is one of the credit rating agencies, and the number for them will go from AAA to D. So it is AAA, AA, triple B, double B, C, D. And as and when the lower the credit rating in this order, the company will be forced to pay more returns or more interest to attract the investors, because there is a default risk associated with it. A company which has a rating of C is a lot more likely to default as compared to double B, and double B is a lot more likely to default as compared to triple A. So so the lower the credit rating, the more interest that the issuer will pay. But at the same time, we need to understand that this people are paying more interest only because they are more probable to default and not be able to pay back the original capital amount itself.
Okay, so we have again a question from Abhijit Tomar. So I think so here you'll have to give the answer as an economic advisor, it seems, because it's little off topic. So he's asking, is there any risk in the government rolling over the bonds, taking on huge debt and just paying the interest forever? Is it a sustainable idea, or is there likely to be a meltdown sometime? I think so that can be true for any corporate organization also, I think so.
Yes. So yeah, this is true. So generally there is a outstanding debt which is a number for organizations and even for the country. So as and when the GDP to debt ratio, the debt to GDP ratio increases a lot, the credit ratings or the people's trust in the government drops drastically, and people will stop giving the money to the government. So this is a real issue, that if the government is just rolling over the bonds and taking huge debt to just make the interest repayments, there will be two things that will happen. First, if it is making interest payments out of the debt it is raising, it will not be able to invest anything in capital expansion. So the GDP will naturally drop. So the company will become less and less, the country will become less and less attractive. And the second thing is, eventually, because there is no growth in GDP, the people will stop giving them the debt when it raises next. So it will eventually lead to a meltdown. So if something like this is happening, it is a real bad state for that country. I think that something like this will not happen with India per se.
Let's hope. So next queue is from Hari Jain ji. He's asking, is there any rating for sites like yours, like Harmony? Is there some kind of rating also available, you know, for maybe the investors, retail investors who want to get associated with your or use your platform? How can they judge?
So from a judgment perspective, we partner from a security and security perspective, or the security of the money perspective, we partner with the very best. We are in partnership with HDFC Bank, which takes care of all our regulatory aspects, and we have run a full end-to-end security audit on our platform. So that is pretty much it. So all these technology platforms have two things that they need to tick off. They should be on the right side of the compliance and regulatory things, which we are doing with the HDFC Bank. So they are taking care of it, and HDFC is a very reliable name. The second thing is the software or the product that we are using, it needs to have undergone an audit. So yeah, so we have done that. So I think, but yeah, to answer your exact question, there is no rating or something that is associated with the technology platform, because we are trying to make, we are not taking any real credit risk or anything of that sort. So give me a minute. Yeah. Yes.
Talking about your platform, if you want retail investors to buy bonds on your platform, so there needs to be some seller. So I believe in the current market scenario, they are majorly either DIIs or big corporations or who are into this fixed bond investing rather than retail investors. So how will that work? Demand and supply on your platform, because you need to offer bonds, then only the retail investors will be able to buy. So how are you managing?
Yeah. So on supply side, we have created a network by various tie-ups with various banks, organizations, and there are a bunch of people who have bonds in place, and we have created tie-ups with them to be able to provide bonds to the retail investor whenever he comes with. So on our website, if you go, we have a marketplace which has a list of bonds and the yields associated to it. So those are the bonds that are very easily available with us. At the same time, we are a developing product. So if there are any queries or anything that anybody wants to buy specifically, then they can always contact one of us, and we have a supply network where we then fetch whatever is generally required. Yeah.
So the next question is from Soham. It's a very basic question, he says, which is, will this bond purchased on Harmony will be to users' Demat account, or as lot size allowed is higher, the same is credited to service provider's pool account, and user can see his invested money only on Harmony platform.
Yeah, this is a good question. So this clears a lot of things. So the bond will be deposited in the user's Demat account and not in the pool account. The moment the transaction completes, you will be able to log into your Zerodha or any of the Protein platform that you are using, and you should be able to see on the Demat platform that you are using, you should be able to see the bond holdings. It will be on your name, and it is not a pooling account that can be used only in a limited manner. You can go out and sell it to anybody, whoever you want.
How do this bonds fare in terms of with compared to vis-a-vis debt mutual funds?
Yes. So debt mutual funds are a very valid choice for fixed income investments. It is not, so what they basically do is they aggregate bonds, but they come with like two primary caveats that we discussed. That there is, first is that if someone is looking for a steady cash flow, like I want to start replacing my salary slowly with a steady cash flow. So I would like to have something that pays out monthly, which is generally absent in debt mutual funds. Debt mutual fund has a NAV associated with it, and it will have its own fluctuations. The second very important thing which I dislike a lot about this mutual funds is when the money is coming in, everything is good. They create a debt portfolio of corporate bonds, and it will start with HDFC, SBI kind of bonds, and at the bottom 10-20%, there will be some suboptimal bonds which I would rather not have on my book. So now when the things are rosy, things are fine, but when there is a downwind or people start redeeming money from these mutual funds, the mutual fund managers out of no choice will be unable to liquidate those bottom 20%. They generally are able to liquidate or sell at fair prices only the SBIs and the HDFCs bonds. So due to this, what happens is over time, when there is redemptions, the quality of the fund reduces. Even though they are not actively buying bad bonds, they are left with bad bonds, and that penalizes unnecessarily the investors who decided to be invested with them on during bad times. So that is a very huge adverse effect. So I think we saw this impact the Franklin Templeton fund. So they had to wind all of it debt funds because of this issue, because there was a huge redemption pressure and they were unable to maintain the quality of the fund. So yeah.
The next question, Amal, is from Savan. He's asking, what do you think is the best fixed income investment considering all aspects?
This is, I don't think there is a right answer to this question at all. So there are a few things that needs to be considered, like what are you, for how much time do you want to park your money, how much risk you are willing to take. So there might be people who are still willing to buy bonds like Shriram Transport or some of the second tier companies which they feel that they are not going to go bankrupt, and they will give you 10-11% as compared to some people who will be very safe and they will try to buy only HDFC and things like those who pay like 6-7% returns. So I think this is we can, what we have tried to do or we are trying to build is a choices framework that will help you narrow down to the right bonds for you. But it is a very tough question to do it on a very generic basis.
So to the audience, we'll be closing in a few minutes. We'll be closing the session shortly. So in case you have any more questions, you can just type it in the chat box. And meanwhile, I'll ask Amal and Aditya for any closing comments that they want to give.
Yes. So I think as a closing comment, it was fun doing this. I enjoyed doing this session, and a couple of things that I would like people to take back is I think it is the right time to think more about fixed income investing. I did myself. I did myself when I started this journey with Harmony, the way I invest money. So it is a fruitful thing. It is not a good idea just blindly put in 50% of the money in fixed deposits. And the second thing is what we are doing at Harmony is very exciting to me and Aditya, and we are definitely looking to get more people on board. So if you have your friends, anybody who you seem are a very great fit for such an organization, feel free to pin me. I definitely would like to talk with more people from IIT Bombay. I enjoy working with IIT Bombay people. So yeah, that is it. Anything you want to add, Aditya? Yeah.
I'll just say thanks to Rohan and Co for arranging this session. I know this was the first one that you guys are doing, so I think this was good. Like we have had a good participation, a lot of questions. So thanks for making this happen.
So I guess we'll conclude the session, and I thank Amal and Aditya for their valuable time and the insight they have shared about fixed income bonds and investing as a safe bet to grow our money. On behalf of the Nagpur chapter, I'll thank Praveen Malla, Avishma Mata, and Hyderabad chapter team to support and motivate our chapter to kickstart chapter activities and begin this wealth management series. From our core team, I'd like to thank Prashant Ji, our chapter president, Dr. Atish, our secretary, and Pratik Doshi for the support in hosting and organizing this event. And thanks again to all the folks who joined us on a Sunday morning. And hope to see you in our next event. The details will be shared shortly. We are planning to have this as a monthly series, and probably maybe a second or third Sunday we'll be planning to keep every month. So see you in January, and take care and stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. Thanks.